Hi, I'm Katy Bing. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be covering betta fish care and everything to keep your betta fish thriving. I'm also going to come out with a misconceptions about betta fish video in a few days, so make sure that you subscribe so you'll be notified as soon as that comes out. For betta fish care, I'm going to make it pretty simple and pretty easy because they are one of the most hardy and easy fish to take care of, but that does not mean that there are not a lot of poorly taken care of betta fish. First things first, you need at least a 2.5 gallon tank for your betta. And I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, I can put them in a bowl, but just wait for my misconceptions video to come out because then you'll understand why not. To do that, so you need at least a 2.5 gallon tank, and in this tank it should have at least 4 things. It needs a hood because betta fish tend to jump out, and if it jumps out, it's going to die, and you don't want your betta fish to die. Make sure that there's a hood on it. I don't care how big it is, there has to be a hood. And then it also needs a filter, and a lot of people don't know that betta fish need filters, but this actually helps you do water changes a lot less, and it keeps all the bacteria flowing through and making sure that it's taking all the bad stuff out. And for a filter, they aren't very good swimmers, so either make sure you get a low flow filter or a filter. My filter has a nozzle on it, so I can switch it to the lowest flow, and then the fish is safe and not disturbed and can swim in peace. And then you need a heater and a thermometer. The heater will make sure that your tank stays, usually they're at like 78 or 79 degrees by themselves, so I just threw a heater in there. I think mine was about $16, and then I got a thermometer just to ensure that the water stays around the same temperature and what it needs to be. This is because betta fish are more tropical, so they need warmer water, and a lot of the times if you don't have a heater, your house will drop to lower temperatures, and the water of the betta fish will drop to lower temperatures at night and sometimes during the day, depending on what time of year it is and how cold your house is. And then as far as what I put in the tank for my betta fish, I just have rocks and pebbles on the bottom. You can do gravel, you can do pretty much whatever. If you're going to do sand, make sure that you pre-mix it before you put it into the tank because it can make the water really cloudy and stuff, which I just think rocks are the easiest, and I just found really pretty ones. And then for plants, you can do all different types of plants. The plastic, make sure that you're getting really synthetic ones because the plastic can rip their fins, so that's always something to take into consideration. And betta fish also like to hide, so make sure that they have some plants to hide in as well as shelter to go into when they're scared or sleeping. And I think one of my favorite purchases I made for my betta fish, this is like a side note, is the little fish hammock with a leaf, and my betta fish lays on that all the time. As far as water, you can use tap water or purified water. Just make sure that you condition it. And you can buy water conditioner, I think it's like $4 for like this big of a bottle. And I always put the conditioner in before I put it back into the tank. This way you can properly dose the water and the fish isn't getting exposed to any toxic water. For water changes, what I mean by a 50% water change is you take 50% of the water out and put 50% of new conditioned water in. If you're doing a 20% water change, you take 20% of the water out, put 20% of new conditioned water in. I also, when I'm doing the tank cleaning up about once a week, or every other week, it just depends on what you do. I usually do once a week just because I don't want them to be dirty at all. I take like a little turkey baster and turkey baste out all the waste and everything that I can see that wasn't picked up. And another thing that I do is I have snails in my tank so that algae cannot grow on the side. You can get an algae scraper and scrape the sides down if you don't want to get snails, but the snails have worked very well for me. If you want to have a community tank with your betta, there are a few things that you can do. First off, don't even consider having a community tank with your betta unless you have a 10-gallon tank. Anything smaller, there's less territory to share, they'll get in each other's way more, and it's a lot more complicated, and people can get away with doing something in a 6-gallon tank, but still I wouldn't even consider it because there's just a lot more room for faults at that point. If you have a 10-gallon tank, they stay out of each other's way more. Sometimes people do tetras and guppies, and a very common one is cory catfish. Cory catfish seem to be the easiest. With the tetras and guppies, that's good because they'll hopefully stay out of their way. The problem with tetras is they are fin nippers, so you have to be very careful that they're not picking on your betta or provoking your betta at all. And the guppies may compete for food, so that's another thing to watch out for. Personally, I just have my betta by himself right now. I'm going to move him into a bigger tank probably eventually, and nice. And then out of cory catfish, I have a different freshwater tank full of guppies and stuff, so I'm not too concerned about that. There's really, some people say it's bad to have community tanks with betta. Some people say it's good for their betta. I haven't seen a problem with it. I think the main thing to watch out for is that the betta's fins are okay and that the other fish are not being harmed by the betta. And you also always have to have a backup plan when you're trying to do a community tank with a betta. This is because you never know how the betta is going to react or how the other fish are going to react. So you either need to be able to take them back to the pet store, or you need to have a different tank for the other fish. So for betta fish food, there's 3 different options. There's frozen, pellets, or flakes. I will do a mix between frozen and pellets. I do not recommend flakes at all because they're messy, they create a mess in your tank and might create cloudiness and are just a pain. The pellets are really easy. I usually do between 3 and 5 pellets a day, which is good for your betta fish depending on the size. And then I'll do frozen like every other week just to mix it up for the betta. I mainly stick to pellets though. That's just the easiest for me. Okay, my room's a mess, but I thought I would take you back here to show you my fish and do the outro. So my betta's name is Orbit, and this is his tank. He's right there. Ooh, and you can see me right there. So, ooh, hi Orbit. Oh, he's like on the top of the water. Orbit, where are you? Okay, so pretty much in his tank, there's his rocks, and then he has a shelter, and then, which is this like little coconut. He has his nice little hammock over here, his plants, and his heater and his filter, and those are the snails in his tank, and he's just living his best life. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. And if you have anything that you want to see next regarding my cats, dogs, or fish, or any types of animals, just let me know and I will get to it. Thank you so much for watching. Love you.